let's get into our cumulative controlled interests top five, and then we'll announce our game of the year. We kind of made our own lists and came to some decisions as to what the top five were. We all had very different lists for the most part, but we were able to figure out what exactly made our top five. So we'll go through that. Number five is Overwatch. You heard me talk about this. Though Jordan and Dom didn't play it, Dom and I were discussing of like though he hasn't played it, he respects it and he understands how important it was. You want to talk a little bit about that, Dom?
No, yeah, because we had to do some tiebreakers basically, and I had to make that decision sort of even though I don't have any personal experience with this game. Like I've heard so much about it, and I can acknowledge and understand what it is and how frankly it's a great game. Even though I haven't played it myself, I can still say that. Heard enough about it. I mean, can't be bad.
Yeah. Next up on the list, my personal game of the year. It comes in at number 4, Inside. You just heard me have a big spiel about it if you're listening to the whole show. But yeah, Inside's a fantastic game. I think Jordan owns it. He just hasn't gotten around to playing it. I really hope Dom gets a chance to play it too, maybe on his Vita through, what is it called? I always forget the name.
Remote play.
Yeah, remote play. I think this is a must-play game. I liked it a lot. It's not a long experience, but it definitely is worth the time invested in it. Yeah, so Inside's number 4. Number 3, this is a game that both Jordan and I loved, Quantum Break. Dom didn't play this. Jordan, obviously, was his favorite game of the year. For me, it was in my top 5. I believe I had it at number 3 or number 4. Yeah, 4, I think. Yeah, Quantum Break's a solid game. It is, I would say it's right there with, I haven't played Gears of War 4, but looking at critical acclaim and stuff like that for Gears, I'm probably going to love Gears when I get around to playing it. But Quantum Break is one of the best Microsoft exclusives this year. It's probably better than Dead Rising 4. I haven't played Dead Rising 4, but everything I heard is like, Dead Rising 4 is a good game. It's not great. It's just there, which is fine. But
like that junk food you talked about.
Exactly. I think Quantum Break is a game that if you own an Xbox, you should definitely play it. If you like superheroes or superhero-esque games, you should definitely play it. And if you like time travel, super play it. Like, it's such a great experience.
It sounds like it's up my alley. I love to time travel.
Yeah.
I'm traveling just last week.
Yeah. Number 2, this was a tough decision when it came down to it, but number 2 is Uncharted 4. I didn't play it, so maybe you can say a little bit more about it and why it's so high on our list.
It's Uncharted 4. What else needs to be said? Oh,
yeah.
But no, we've said so much about it already. It's just a fantastic game. It's a fantastic experience. It's just so good. I don't know what else to say that it hasn't been said already, but well deserving of that spot.
Yeah, if I owned a PlayStation 4, I would have played it and I would have probably liked it. But I didn't get around to playing it, so I really have no opinions on it. And it seems like Uncharted 4 definitely seems like one of those games that, like, it's better if you're invested. Like, if you were part of the Uncharted franchise,
Definitely.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised, and I'm totally okay with it being number 2 on our list. It's obviously a fantastic game from what everybody says about it. Dark Souls 3 is our game of the year. You've heard our praises from Dom and I about this game. Just a little inside baseball on this. We kind of were trying to figure out what would be the game of the year because Dark Souls 3 and Uncharted 4 were tied in points, and we all individually voted, and Dom and I both voted for Dark Souls 3, and Jordan voted for Uncharted 4. So no one can ever say that Jordan never gave Uncharted 4 something. It was a really tough decision. Both those games are solid, but Dark Souls 3, like I said before in my little spiel, I think it's very underrated and underappreciated this year. Like, it wasn't in almost, like, there was a lot of categories it could have been in for the Game Awards or other places, and I think people are just, like, overlooking it. Like, From is one of the most underappreciated developers. Like, us not being able to have a Souls game for a while, people are going to understand what that means to the industry. And I think it's because it's Dark Souls. I think if they were making something that was a little more open and friendly to a lot more people, I think it'd be different. But the fact that they make these games that have such a committed community and they're known for being such hard games, I think they kind of have a stigma attached to them, and people don't like to talk about them as being a general consensus game of the year or up there for that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Dark Souls 3. What do you feel?
I will add that, yeah, you were right about the community for these games being very committed. They're also the biggest assholes, and that's kind of the point. um,
Yeah.
they're that's what the game is, and a lot of times you'll get, if you ask a certain question in a Dark Souls group, for example, you might get told best strategy is to get good,
Yep.
Gud, good.
GITGUD. Yep.
Exactly, yeah. Um, Now that being said, I mean people are still friendly, and it's being a part of a community while playing these games for the first time is certainly the best way to do it because you can learn and discover some of the secrets that you wouldn't normally, find on your own. You'd have no way of knowing. So, kind of talking to people about that, about which NPCs will end up doing what, and who to kill, who not to kill, kind of stuff. But if you just straight up ask someone, "How do I beat this boss?" expect them to just reply GITGUD.
Also, if you're interested in becoming like a gameplay designer, you're just interested in what goes on to make a game, there are a lot of companies you can look at to see how formal and very linear level design and gameplay design are handled. But if you want something like, if you want to know how obtuse like level design is made, look at From. They have a map that kind of is attached completely, and they set it up in a way that is like super brilliant in a lot of ways. They're kind of Castlevania-esque system where you'll go through the map and you'll end up finding a door that opens up a shortcut to an area you were at 15 to 20 minutes ago, maybe even half an hour ago. I think their level design is brilliant. I think they definitely put a lot into making it very seamless, and like it's Dark Souls is one of those games that you can look in the distance at a building and you'll be there later in the game. Like anything you see, you're more than likely going to be able to experience, and you can look back on everywhere you've been. And I think that's different to a lot of games. And man, I cannot praise that level design anymore because it's phenomenal when you look at it from the big picture of like how everything seamlessly goes into one another. And it's yeah, I'm super
Yeah.
happy to say Dark Souls 3 is our game of the year. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And the best way I can think to describe it, in terms that most people are familiar with, is take a one of the dungeons from a 3D Zelda game, and expand it 10 times the size and make it 10 times scarier and more difficult. It's that kind of like pre-thought that had to go into exactly where everything's placed and where each door is.
Yep.
But even on a way larger scale, that's what in every single, minus Dark Souls 2, what every Souls game was able to accomplish.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal game, and I think one thing I want to say too is I know it seems very intimidating to get into. I was actually super intimidated to ever play the first Dark Souls because I heard it's the hardest game ever. It's so hard, this and that, and then I finally jumped in, and yeah, you need to have some patience, but man, it is one of the most satisfying games because when you get it, you get it. Like when you learn the Dark Souls dance, they're great, and it's just, oh man, beating bosses in that game is so satisfying. You feel like you earn everything you get in that game. Nothing is handed to you, So, I
Like
think
heroin,
yeah, I think
except it doesn't kill you. Well,
I'm.
it virtually kills you many times, but anyway.
Yeah, I think we're super cool with giving Dark Souls 3 our first game of the year for what that means. This year was very solid. I think there was a lot of great games that came out this year. It's even hard to narrow it down. And just remember that just because some people think that one game's phenomenal and a game isn't good, it really all depends on what you appreciated the most and what you like the most. So all of these lists are completely biased. They're based on opinion. Nothing is unbiased. Nothing's objective.
Right.
So
No one has played every single game that came out this year and is also purely objective, because purely objective doesn't exist
exactly. So yeah,
except in math.
just a recap before we close out the show. Our top 5 are as follows: Overwatch, Inside, Quantum Break, Uncharted 4, and Dark Souls 3.